adding and subtracting fractions. So from last year, you should be familiar with the appropriate technique for adding and subtracting fractions. But just as a recap on it, what we need to do is we need to express these as equivalent fractions. Now, equivalent fractions are just other ways of writing it so that they're still the same value. And we need to do it with the same denominator. So if we're looking at halves and fifths, a common denominator would be tenths. And what we look at is how we get from 2 to 10. So to get from 2 to 10, we multiply by 5. So we need to do that in the numerator as well. So if we multiply the numerator by 5, we get 5 tenths. For fifths, to get from fifths to tenths, we need to see, well, how do you get from 5 to 10? And that's multiply by 2. We get 4. So now we've got 5 tenths plus 4 tenths. And 5 tenths plus 4 tenths are 9 tenths. So whenever we're adding fractions, we only add or subtract the numerators. So the denominator should stay the same. In the second example there, we've got a mixed number taking away a fraction. And the way that we do that is we first of all express the mixed number as a top-heavy fraction. So 1 whole is made up of 3/3. So then 1 2/3 has 5/3 altogether. And we're taking away 2/7. We need a common denominator. The common denominator between 3 and 7 is 21. To get from 5/3 to 21, we've multiplied by 7. So if we do that at the top, we get 35. With sevenths up to 21, we multiply by 3. So we multiply the tops by 3, we get 6. So now we have 35 21. Take away 6 over 21. We apply to the numerators only, and we get 29 over 21, which we should change into a mixed number to be 1 and 8 21sts. So having looked at these next 3 examples are going to be pretty straightforward. So we need to calculate. So 1/3 plus 4/3. So we add the numerators only. So that's going to be 1 plus 4 over 3, which is 5 over 3, which is a top-heavy fraction, which we should leave as 1 and 2/3. So 2/3 then, example B, plus 4/5. We need to express it as with a common denominator. So between 3 and 5, the common denominator is 15. To get from 2/3 to out of 15, we've multiplied by 5. So we need to do the same at the top, and we get 10. For 4/5, to get from 5 to 15, we've multiplied by 3. So doing the same on the top, we get 12 over 15. We add the numerators, so that's 10 plus 12 over 15, which is 22 over 15. And 15 goes into 22 once with a remainder of 7, so it's 1 and 7/15. And example C, 7 over 10 plus 1 over 5. So a common denominator here would be 50, so by multiplying 10 and 5 together. But actually there's a smaller one that we can use, and that's tenths. So 7 tenths is going to remain 7 tenths. 1/5 is a fraction of 10. We've multiplied the denominator by 2 to get to 10, so we multiply the numerator by 2, and we get 2 tenths. Adding those together, we have 7 plus 2 tenths, which is 9 tenths. So the answer there is 9 over 10. Example D, 3/4 minus 1/2. So our common denominator again, you can think the 8 by multiplying the 2 together, but let's say 4 is the lowest common denominator. So 3/4 is going to remain as 3/4. Take away halves as quarters, well that's 2. So we multiply 2 by 2 to get 4. So multiply 1 by 2 to get the numerator. subtract the numerators 3 take away 4, or 3 take away 2 over 4, which is 1/4. 7/9 take away 1/3. Common denominator here is 9. So the 7 doesn't change. To get from thirds to ninths, we multiply by 3. So if we multiply the numerator by 3, we'll get 3. That's 7. Take 3 over 9, which is 4 over 9. Example F, we've got two mixed numbers. So what we should do is change those into top-heavy fractions. So 1 5/9, 1 is made up of 9/9, so then the whole thing will be 14/9. 2 1/3, well, there's 3/3 in 1, there'll be 6/3 in 2, so then there's 7/3 in 2 1/3. Our common denominator is going to be over 9, so the 14 can remain the same. To get from 3 to 9, we've multiplied by 3, so do the same on the top, and we get 21. Add the numerators, we get 35 over 9. Then 9 divided into 35 goes 3 times with 8 left over. So it's 3 8/9. And example G, we've got again a mixed numbers. So 4 1/4 in 4. There's going to be 16 quarters. So there's 1/4 in 1. So there's going to be 16 quarters in 4. But altogether we have 17 quarters. Minus, so there's 3/3 in 1. So there's going to be 9/3 in 3. So altogether there's 10/3. Our common denominator between fourths and thirds is going to be twelfths. To get from 4 to 12, we've multiplied by 3. So multiply the numerator by 3 and we get 51. To get from thirds to twelfths, we've multiplied by 4. So multiply the numerator by 4 and you get 40. So then 51/12 minus 40/12 is going to be 11/12. And that's your answer.